Stay in touch with us on Facebook and Instagram at Unique Yet Connected. You are now listening to episode 65 of Unique Yet Connected podcast. The theme for this episode is When Good Enough is Good Enough.
Often, when you feel not good enough, you will choose a partner who also feels not good enough. Why? Because similar finds or looks for what is similar.
Hello, brilliant souls in and around the world. Nolitha Fenton is my name. Dolokazi is my clan name. And this is episode 65. A warm welcome to Unique Yet Connected podcast. As always, Kinga and Nika on the other side of the virtual. Over to you, Kings.
Thank you, Noli. Hello, dear listeners and co-editors. I am Kinga Siladi.
Thank you for joining our movement of translating this wisdom of systemic family constellations into a practical language that all of us can easily understand and, most importantly, implement in our daily lives. In this episode, we are opening up one of the common statements an avoidant person says to themselves. The statement is, "No one is good enough for me." Kings, where could this statement be coming from?
Yes, no one is good enough for me is a sign of avoidance. And the next one is, I am not good enough for anyone. I feel that these two are linked or interlinked. They are the two sides of the same coin. We have talked about how counterdependency is about avoiding connecting. Putting your partner or alternatively yourself on an unreachable pedestal. You are unreachable or your partner is unreachable.
I didn't think that no one is good enough for me or I'm not good enough for anyone is a sign of avoidance. Now that you shared this insight, it makes total sense how you can put yourself or your partner in an unreachable pedestal just to avoid connecting. I feel I'm not good enough or no one is good enough for me is not a statement that is spoken out loud. Just to clarify, Kings, does this kind of statement work in a non-romantic relationship? I know in this series we are focusing on romantic relationships. However, systemic family constellations is the center of this podcast. How then does I'm not good enough for anyone or no one is good enough for me relates to family, or can this be something that we started to feel with our parents, siblings, or any other person in our family?
These statements are more about romantic relationship and dating someone. This includes the beginning of a relationship when you decide if you are ready to start dating someone. But Noli, you are 100% right to also look at the effects of this in the context of your family relations. But before we look into that, I wanted to summarize what we are talking about when we look at the big picture. In these past episodes, we are discussing the attributes of a counter-dependent personality and the ways it differs from the counter-dependent development stage of a relationship. We felt it is necessary to talk about the counter-dependent personality traits in us. Counter-dependency pushes you to withdraw into your shell out of fear of getting hurt by someone. This fear of hurt often originates in an earlier experience of being hurt, in the pain of losing someone or never having someone. Abandonment issues can create counter-dependency in you. Noli, you were also asking me about how not good enough would relate in the family. My first thought was to look at where it can come from in your system. Where do we see the traits of no one is good enough for me or I'm not good enough for anyone in the systemic family constellation work? We see that these feelings often link back to idolizing one of your parents. The father or the mother is idolized and they become a superwoman or a superman in their child's eye. Putting a parent on a pedestal can be obviously seen when you talk with someone about their life, but often it is not visible at the first glance, and it shows itself, I must say, quite unexpectedly when we start to work with not feeling good enough or no one is good enough for me in the field.
So I just like to open up how idolizing can show up because I know that it can show up in different forms. Obviously, I've seen how the field, interprets family systems. Can you just give us maybe two or three examples of where a parent is idolized?
One is when the relationship with the father is good, maybe even too good. If you keep on saying that my father is always with me, my father supports me, which is right and a good thing, but if you say he stands by me is not so good. Why is that? By now you know from the constellation work that standing side by side is the position for your life partner. It does not symbolize a father-daughter relationship. When you say, my father has my back, that is the father-daughter relationship. When I hear from a client that my father stands by me, ego next to me, I can pick up from that sentence that there may be an idolization of the father happening in the client system. Because the perfect position of a partner is taken up by the father, who represents the perfect man for you, then no partner can live up to this flawless figure. The father, but also the man. When you are growing up, your father is your parent and also happens to be the first man in your life. He is your first love. Obviously not in a sexual sense. It is an innocent love, but you love this man and he is the example that you carry with you when choosing your future partner. When your father has been put on a pedestal, no man can match him.
This is very interesting to explore, Kings. I think I've heard "I'm not good enough" statement in me, and I'm not sure if it's completely gone, but there was a time when that was very big. And according to my assessment, then it felt like it showed up in my confidence and in my self-esteem. But now that you're speaking about idolizing a father, it feels like it came from being abandoned or my father choosing alcohol over me because of all the embarrassing things that he did when he was drunk. I was deeply hurt and went into my shell. I didn't even want to have anything to do with him at some point. I was angry to the point that I didn't want to be like him. I viewed that part of him in me as not good enough. Therefore, I didn't embrace myself fully or showed up as my full self. But when people are dead, it's different. I feel one can fall into a trap of idolizing them. Maybe this is also influenced by the saying such as, don't speak ill of the dead. It can be easy to say, my father this, my father that. At some point last year, I was questioning myself a little bit about this idolizing thing. Because since the past 2 years, I've been speaking about my dad in a very different way than when he was alive. It felt like his alcoholism was not a factor anymore. I'm focusing on his strength, and it's interesting what happened to this other father, that I experienced in my childhood. Or is I was thinking it is the fact that he is gone that makes me look at him more in a positive light.
This is so positive. You can see all the work you were doing through the constellations. You already embodied that your father is more than his alcoholism. Seeing his strengths makes you stronger. You are not denying that alcoholism was part of your childhood, but built it in as something that became a pillar, and not a weight in your life forward. On the other hand, if you would be in denial of the trauma that your father's alcoholism caused to you and your family, that would not make your father strong. Turning a blind eye on it and looking at your partner as less doesn't make your father stronger in your eyes, but only makes your partner weaker. Noli, you reached a point when you already accepted that your picture of your father is complex. You have grown up and understand your father better. The hurt child in you used to be able to see him in only one way, either good or bad, scary or friendly. The hurt inner child in you tends to think one-dimensionally. But as you heal from your childhood traumas, your picture of your surroundings gets more complex. Now, when you talked about your father passing on and might be idolizing the dead, this actually took us to the next point, which can bring on this idolization of a parent. Abandonment. When the father is not present, children choose to make their father out as a villain or a romantic hero. An unknown father could be anyone. He can be even an Arabian prince or whatever you fancy. The little child in you often has the tendency to make out the absent and unavailable father perfect, the one who is unreachable and highly valued.
Wow, Kings. Thank you so much for confirming my growth and healing concerning my childhood trauma with my father's alcoholism. I might just be getting ready for the work that has been placed in my heart since childhood concerning children of parents living with alcoholism. But that will be for another time. You are highlighting something that's true, yet not that noticeable when you say that when the father is not present, children choose to make their father a villain or a romantic hero. I remember when we were young and how children of fathers who were not present will make up stories about who their fathers were or what kind of work they did. So, wow, thank you for that. And earlier in this episode, I said, I feel I'm not good enough or no one is good enough for me. It's not a statement that is spoken out loud. Hey, Unique Tribe, ready to unlock new insights with family, relationships, and business constellations with our monthly workshops.
Join us on Saturday, 1st of March 2025 in North Cliff, Randburg. We will send the address when you book.
The session runs from 1 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. It's 850 to constellate and 250 to participate with beverages included.
Connect with @Kinga Siladi, @Ignaluminescence, and @Unique Yet Connected for an afternoon of transformation.
Book your spot now. Call 079-913-4934 or email innaluminescence.kinga@gmail.com.
Spaces are limited, so don't wait. Secure your place today.
See you there. You are still listening to episode 65. The theme for this episode is When Good Enough is Good Enough. Remember, when you comment, ask questions, like and share our content and links, you help us grow and change lives together. Like us on Facebook and on Instagram. Is it possible that a person could be expressing, I'm not good enough for anyone or no one is good enough for me, and not be conscious that they are vibrating that or expressing that to the world?
It is so much so possible that it leads us to this other point. Often, when you feel not good enough, you will choose a partner who also feels not good enough. Why? Because similar find what is similar. This type of relationship tends to end up being very difficult and unfulfilling for both partners. You are looking to the other one to tell you that you are the perfect partner for him. You are the best thing that ever happened to him. But if both of you and your partner are looking to hear this from the other one, you end up not saying it at all. It will make both you and your partner feel that My partner must believe that I am not good enough if he never praises me. Resentment is created when you feel that he doesn't appreciate your input, and as a result, you stop saying thank you to him for the little things he does. This can easily become a vicious circle. An ostrich policy in our relationship will not fix this.
What is the ostrich policy in a relationship?
Ostrich policy is when, in the case of something going wrong in the relationship, you choose to bury your head into the sand and hope that life will sort it out. From this place, you normally say that your partner needs to change for the relationship to get better.
Romantic relationships are going through so much. I find that a lot of people get overwhelmed. So the ostrich policy can seem like a solution. When things were overwhelming in my relationship, you always reminded me to work on myself for things to change.
The truth is that no matter how many times you talk to someone about what you need from them to change, still you will not be able to initiate the change. Only when the person himself feels the need to change will the change happen. Similarly, you can only initiate change in yourself. So let's do a little exercise of starting to play with the idea that if something is bothering you in your partner, that means it is triggering something somewhere in your family system. The trigger doesn't have to come from your life. You don't even have to know about it. But when you feel offended by your partner, it shows as trigger in you. When, with the help of the systemic cancellation work, you release this trigger from your system, it allows everything to change around you. The release of the trigger creates a positive opening in your relationship.
That's a new one for me, Kings. Another nugget. What an amazing episode. It's good to know that with the help of systemic work, one can release the trigger from their family system, and this can have a positive impact in your relationships. This gives me great hope for healthy relationships, and that's all we have for this episode. Please help us share this episode, and remember to follow us and hit the subscribe button so we can grow our channel and podcast. In the next episode, we will explore the natural stages of a romantic relationship, focusing on the counter-dependent stage.
Thank you for your contribution in helping us to be chosen into the top 10 South Africa Family Podcast by Feedspot. Join our monthly virtual connection circle every first Tuesday evening of the month. To receive your link, subscribe on our website www.uniqueyetconnected.com or check for updates on our socials at uniqueyetconnected. If you feel like you are experiencing limiting patterns or relationship issues and would like to have an individual session, book a family constellation session with us on our website www.uniqueyetconnected.com or on our socials, Facebook or Instagram. Our handle on both platforms is @uniqueyetconnected.
A big thank you to you for listening to our episode, and to Nick Wons from That Guy Productions for making us sound fabulous and on point. Episode 66 is in 2 weeks' time from now. Tune in on the 9th of March 2025 from 10 a.m. South African Standard Time. For links and updates, stay tuned on our Facebook and Instagram pages at Unique Yet Connected. Unique spelled YOUNIQUE. Stay unique, stay connected, and remember, you are one of a kind, and we can only create a really meaningful podcast together. Siyabulela bayadanki, kosonom.
Kusunum, thank you. Siyabulela, Bayadanki.